So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure most of you can recognize this item right here. This is a Frenzy Totem, the last remaining spawn booster in GMS. To the vast majority of you, this item is pretty much impossible to obtain. In addition to the fact that it's only available in rec servers, allegedly, the totem itself is the single most expensive item in the game. Its value in 2023 ranges anywhere between $4,000 and $20,000, depending on the world you're playing in. Note that I said it is the last remaining spawn booster in GMS, because not long ago, just last year, we saw the nerfing of Kishin Shokan, a Kana summon that had a similar effect, and the permanent removal of the Wild Totem, a dollar store version of the Frenzy Totem, so to speak, that was also accessible in Reboot worlds through reward points and Fairy Bros. Reactions to the removal of these boosters have been pretty wild, pun not intended, but thankfully, it seems that the community has completely moved on now. To us, reg players, it is not too difficult to take advantage of Frenzy Totems, even if we do not own them. In any reg world, you can find Frenzy service sellers who will happily cast you Frenzy for as long as you need, provided that you can pay for the service, of course. It is also very easy to observe just how powerful these totems are, simply by looking at Niru, the upcoming first level 300 player in the world, and Sacrix, one of the first players to hit 10,000 Legion levels in GMS. Both of these players have used the Frenzy Totem, with a hint of perseverance, to achieve their respective goals. It is very difficult to find anyone in rec servers that does not use Frenzy Totems to grind. Most people, myself included, will outright refuse to do so unless they can get service, which shows just how important Frenzy is to rec server economy, and how attached we are to it. But what if I told you that there is one reg player in particular who goes about his MapleStory life without a single Frenzy Totem in sight? A player that refuses to use even a second of it, and yet is miles ahead of most people who do. Today, I would like to share with you the unique story of an amazing player who I've had the chance to interview recently about their game experience. If you're interested in more stories like this, consider subscribing and becoming a member of the channel. Special thanks to Coffee and Ramarvar, the second of her name, for sponsoring this video. Without further ado, let's watch.
Hello Mushroom Game Enjoyers, my name is Francesco. I play MapleStory Global on the EU region Luna server. I've been playing MapleStory since the pre-Big Bang days. I was a pretty stupid kid back then. I would make a bunch of level 30 characters and give up maybe level 40. I had zero grasp of progression. I just enjoyed hitting mobs and exploring the world. And yeah, like exploring Maple for the first time is an amazing experience, especially in those days. So when Big Bang happened, for some reason I decided I was gonna be upset. Even though I barely had a grasp on the game, I just bandwagoned and I was like, I don't like change, baby rage, I'm gonna quit the game. I occasionally played, but I didn't really play actively until 2019. But 2019 is when I started my Luna account, and I decided I was gonna learn the game, relearn the game the way that it is now with 5th job and everything. So I started watching Maple streamers and passively absorbing knowledge, and finally I reached a point where I'm like, this is my home, this is my backyard, I know what's going on in Maple finally. And that, I don't know, that felt amazing. And I just kept playing, and 2021 I started streaming, and that was my first time ever streaming. I've always been like pretty shy. I couldn't even be on voice calls. I'm just like really awkward, and that was an experience for me. Like it got me out of my comfort zone, and I really enjoyed streaming, so I kept doing it daily, and I've been streaming daily ever since my Maple grind. So I consider myself a Legion main, which means while I do have a level 280 Dark Knight that's pretty strong, I don't really invest many resources into it or time. My main goal is to get my Legion as big as possible, and so I progress every class. I grind every class even to 250. I just like exploring different classes, and I guess that's enough meta way to play the game, but that's how I like playing.
Do remember this small bit of trivia for future reference. Francesco, better known by his alias Lolisamurai, is a Legion main, which is really unusual. You cannot consider yourself a Legion main just because you're maining more than one character. This status implies you're committing to and working on improving most of, if not all, your characters equally. What sets Francesco apart from other Legion mains, however, is this.
So being a Legion main, that's already off meta, but besides the fact that I'm a Legion main, I also play without Frenzy Totems. So on this account, on Luna, I have never taken advantage of spawn enhancers. A few people tried frenzying me, but I just CC'd away. Essentially, I've never benefited from spawn enhancers ever. I get 1/3 the rates as everyone else. That's just how I like playing the game. So I'm grinding to be one of the biggest legions in the game, and yet I'm getting 1/3 the rates as everyone else.
Now that is crazy. This isn't like playing on Reboot, where you can at the very least enjoy increased EXP and meso rates for now. Rates on reg servers are abysmal. Meso farming is quite simply a huge waste of time without Frenzy, which allows a minimum of 50 to 60 mil an hour, and that is without meso gear. With meso gear, it caps around 200 to 250 mil per hour, which is still awfully low compared to Reboot.
I'm also completely free to play. I mean free to play in like the purest sense of the word. So my account is not even MVP bronze. I've never spent any money on the game on this account ever. And I've never accepted any gift that involved NX or real money or anything like that. My greatest achievement would have to be my Legion, and not just the number. Like, I'm almost 9.5k, I'm 9469 right now, nice. Not just the number, but what the number means, the journey that got me there, because I've done this with no frenzy, and I'm not even like min-maxing the EXP multipliers. I'm trying to be as meso efficient as possible as a free-to-play, because it's not sustainable to just buy cash 2x's. I would make like no mesos. And so, like, the journey that got me here, the number means something completely different than someone with frenzy and cash 2x and optimizing all the EXP buffs. It means something completely different than, let's say, a Sacrix doing the same thing the way that he does it.
It would be impossible to understand the difficulty of the self-imposed challenge without trying it yourself. A Reboot player may claim they are no different, but remember that Reboot, before New Age at least, enjoys a passive increase in EXP and meso rates. Reg does not.
So the main reason I don't like using totems is simply because the game is more fun without them. I like the off-totem grinding style. Like, to me, doing an off-totem rotation, it has a rhythm to it. It's like a rhythm game. The spawn cycle is like 7.5 seconds, so that's plenty of time for you to go through the map and find the best route to clear all the mobs efficiently, make it to the other side before they respawn, get ready for the next wave, repeat. And it's like you're trying to execute, you know, it's like you're playing us, and you're trying to full combo this map, and you're trying to get as high accuracy as possible. You're trying to do your movement as cleanly as possible. And yeah, I do grinding rotations like I'm playing a rhythm game. And when you increase the spawn timer, even like wild totem 4 seconds, frenzy totem 2 seconds, it just becomes way less structured to me. Or more like it can be structured. Like, the sweaty frenzy rotations are very structured in the way that they place summons and they stand in a very specific spot, but it doesn't have a rhythm to it. It doesn't give me the same satisfaction that I get from optimizing off totem rotations. And there's more reasons to it. I don't like the idea of, like, I log in, I want to grind, and I have to find a frenzy seller. That just seems annoying. Like, I want minimal overhead for grinding. I don't even farm with familiars because I find it annoying to have to worry about the familiar guys and all of that. And yeah, that's not optimal, but it's more fun. So I just enjoy the journey, and I want to make the process as enjoyable as possible. And so that's my main reasons for not liking totems.
It is more preferable for Francesco to grind on his own terms without having to worry about uptime management and min-maxing his grind. His focus is primarily on the journey rather than the destination. It may seem relaxing and enjoyable to set everything aside and grind for a good 2 or 3 hours, but try a minimum of 6 every single day for God knows how long, without frenzy and everything else that comes along with it. Maximizing his Legion is just a side hustle. This guy enjoys the grind.
So for the people who don't know, the game is not actually designed around having spawn enhancers. So if you look at the Korean version, which is the reference upstream version of the game, so that's where the new updates are being developed, that's where we get our updates from. There are no spawn enhancers there, and the maps are all the same, like they're designed around the 7.5 seconds spawn timer. And you can see it in skill cooldowns. Like, if you look at a lot of classes, they're gonna have like 7-second cooldowns. Why are they 7 seconds? Because they're designed to be used with that spawn cycle. And like, some skills are like 15 seconds. Why are they 15 seconds? Because you can use them every other spawn cycle. So there's a logic to that. It's intended for base spawn.
There is likely a reason for KMS not having spawn boosting like we do, and it's not because it would set their servers on fire. It's true when he references skill cooldowns and how the maps are designed to synchronize with them. To KMS, we just seem like an anomaly more than anything else, really.
So there's a whole discussion to be had about whether totems should be removed, whether they should have never been in the game. And my take on that is they should have never been in the game. And now we're dealing with the nuclear fallout of that decision for the next many years. But personally, I can have my own fun even if totems stay in the game. And I just set my own rules, I play my own game, and I'm happy. So I'm gonna leave that discussion to the community. So to summarize, I'm extremely focused on the process. The journey has to be enjoyable. How optimal it is doesn't matter. It's important to understand the game to an extent where you know what you're missing out on, and then you find your own creative way to play around the rules, to break the rules creatively. And that is the most fun way to play the game, in my opinion. My average day on Maple... well, it's a lot of grinding. I start with a 4-hour session of grinding, so that's like 2 wealth pots. Then I go eat dinner, I come back, and I do all my dailies. Now, I try to keep my dailies to a minimum. I do my Sacred Symbol dailies on my Dark Knights, and then I do Arcane Symbol dailies on one of my level 250s, currently my Shadower, because it's the best mobber of Totem in my opinion. And I prep symbols for the next 250s, so I do about 1 month worth of symbols for each class to 250. And then I do Monster Park. So after dailies, I do 1 or 2 bossing meals per day. So my bossing meals are the previous 250s. They have max nodes, they're like 20k stat. A lot of them can do up to normal slime in under half an hour. The weaker ones can at least do up to normal Lotus and Damien in under half an hour. And I don't want to spend, I could do higher bosses, but I don't want to spend too much time bossing. So even on my Dark Knight, even though I can solo Hard Lotus and Hard Damien, I only do Hard Lotus and then I just do the same bosses as my bossing meals, just because it takes too long. And I mainly do it for the boss cubes and the masses. So currently I'm running 9 bossing meals per week, and that is a lot of masses. It's like over 2 bill masses from bossing, but it's still less masses than I farm per day because I farm so much. So after the bossing meal, I transfer my link skills back to whatever character I'm grinding, and I go grind for 2 more hours. So usually it's not crazy hours, but right now it kinda is because of coin capping.
I forgot to mention that Francesco has 8 characters over level 250, with plans for 9th very soon. The rest of his characters all hover around level 220. His highest level character is a level 280 Dark Knight. No frenzy, shit rates. Let that sink in.
So a lot of people ask me why I don't play Reboot, since it would reward me way more for my grinding, and the simple answer is convenience. Being able to buy stuff off the auction house is invaluable to me. It makes the game way less annoying on a daily basis. I can buy VAC pets from the auction house, I can revive pets for 9 months just buying an item on the auction house, I can free to play pet skills anytime I want by just trading masses for Maple points. Even simple things like being able to buy wealth pots from the auction house and not having to craft them myself, not having to worry about, oh, I need to get a wealth pot recipe, I need to get materials, I need to do Threads of Fate. All of that is like very annoying chores that I would have to deal with on a daily basis. Regular server is just a better fit for what I'm trying to do in the game and what I do on a daily basis. I don't care that I could be way stronger in Reboot, that I could progress way faster. That does nothing for me.
He could do that, but he doesn't want to, even if it would honestly still be a way better fit for him. And it's not that Luna's market is good or anything. It's a dead server, partly because of the Dutch trade ban.
I do agree that Reboot is a better fit for most people, and most people are also willing to pay for the convenience floor of buying a pet and pet skills, but it's not a better fit for me personally. But I do recommend Reboot to the average player.
During some major events which temporarily open worlds like Pink Bean and Yeti and Burning World, Francesco will often be seen there, and he does not allow step-ups to dictate where he stops. His greatest accomplishment was achieved during Pink Bean and Yeti's first run.
My greatest achievement on MapleStory, that would have to be my Yeti World journey. So I was the #1 Yeti in the first iteration of Pink Bean and Yeti World. So that would be the one where you don't get arcane gear, you don't get to go to Arcane River, you only get a Fafnir weapon and a couple accessories, and you have to build up your gear by yourself. So I was the number 1 on the Punch King for that one, and I got 300k Maple points for it, and I was the highest Punch King across EU and NA. My Punch King score was the highest across all other regions, so I beat KMS, I beat Maple C, I beat CMS, and so on. However, I would say each region has their own number 1 because they had different conditions. So GMS has higher tier up rates, Maple C had access to Oz rings and we didn't, KMS also had access to Oz rings and we didn't, so just different game. So I would say they have their own number 1. So Yeti World was some of the most fun I've ever had in MapleStory. Just the fact that it's this uncharted territory, it's this wild west where you don't really have a gear progression guide and you have to get as strong as possible, and you have 1 month to do all of this. So you also have to figure out the trade-offs of things that you can't do within 1 month and so on, and what's more worth spending time on. It's way more interesting than permanent progression where you have infinite time potentially. So we start with no CRA gear and we have to kill CRA to get CRA gear. There's no other way, but you can't really get strong enough to solo it, and so I had to find a bunch of random people and try to clear a CRA together, except we have 0 experience clearing CRA as a party, and it was such a disaster the first attempt. But after many days of failures and many attempts and getting these people in a voice call and just strategizing together, we finally started clearing these bosses, and it felt like the biggest achievement ever. Clearing CRA in Yeti World with these meme classes and really low damage as a party, it's kind of like you're clearing Black Mage for the first time in the main world. And yeah, it was a journey. I loved it. It was special. So by the end of Yeti World, I was level 229, and remember, there was no Arcane River, so I was farming in Dark World 3 the whole time, massive farming and farming for EXP, and I was about 14.727k stats, and I was able to solo Chaos Vellum, even if just barely, and my final score on the Punch King was 937.
Now, for those of you who may be interested in checking Francesco out, you're in luck, because he streams almost every single day.
I stream daily on Twitch at twitch.tv/Lolisamurai, so if you want to join me in my daily grind, come hang out. You can also watch my videos on YouTube at Lolisamurai, and I post guides and sometimes patch overviews, that kind of stuff, training guides mainly, and I hope to make more videos more regularly in the future. Thank you for having me, Myst, and I hope I have inspired at least one person to play the game the way that they want to play the game and not the other way around.
I highly recommend you check this guy out. Not only does he have a great personality and is genuinely very entertaining, but his style is also very unique and, despite him grinding for most of his streams, makes it very interesting to watch. I will link his Twitch and YouTube channels in the description. And with that, this video has reached its end, though I would like to extend you an invitation to my channel. Are you a Nexon employee with something to share? Are you a player with a very interesting story? Reach out to me if you think you can make it into the next video. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this in the future. And a special thanks once again to Coffee and Rarmarvar, the second of her name, for sponsoring the channel. See you soon!